So we have got a fight night this Saturday, UFC fight night. I don't even know what number it is, but what I do know is Darren Till facing off against Derek Brunson, and the entire card has got a huge, massive British interest. So I want to talk about it a little bit, but before I do, my name's Rahul J Chan. This is the Battle Camp. Thank you very much for joining me. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I have a nasty feeling, a very, very, very nasty feeling that I have forgotten to do something. And what I've forgotten to do, I'm going to give away tricks of the trades here now, because I'm reasonably satisfied with my intro to this video, so I want to keep it. But I'm begging. Yep. You lot see what I did there? So what I've done is I've made a video of that logo thing, and it's 50 minutes long, and I set play on it and I started faffing about trying to set this camera up and stuff, and that probably took me about 20 minutes. So I got a little bit anxious about whether that's going to cut out halfway through me talking about Derek Brunson against Darren Till. I digress. All right, let's talk about this card. The reason why I'm so excited about this card is, like I've just said to you guys, it is a massive British interest in this card, because the way they built this card was in the hope that they could secure the O2 here in London town, and I'd be over there come Saturday night with a big pint of beer in my left hand and nothing, because I don't really eat at these events. I just drink, nothing in my right hand, and I'd be sat there, probably stood there, watching these fights happen live. But as things are, as the world is at the moment, unfortunately, that isn't possible. So these guys are fighting at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. But like I said, there are multiple British fighters on this card. So let's start. You know what? I'm not going to go down the card in any sort of order. I'm just going to talk about the things that interest me the most, right? So look, we got Derek Brunson against Darren Till. Now, Derek Brunson is a guy that really didn't have a lot of traction or respect in the middleweight division in the UFC. He was just kind of a top 10 one-of-the-mill guy, someone that is a good test, a good measuring stick for up-and-coming fighters. And here he is headlining a show. I'm not really sure why Derek Brunson's name is here first. It should, in my opinion, be Darren Till, but Derek Brunson might be ranked higher than Darren Till, hence why he's the A side on this card, right? But he's a guy that is experienced. He's a guy that has recently provided a couple of upset results in terms of beating fighters that he was put in there, let's face it, as an opponent, as that measuring stick that I was talking about just a minute ago. And I'm looking at you, Edmund Sharbazian, and I think the thing with the Sharbazian fight was it wasn't just a take him down repeatedly type of fight. It was a fight where Derek Brunson showed that he has improved his skills on the feet. And that brings me to this Darren Till fight, because although Derek Brunson has improved his skills on the feet, and he is I wouldn't say he's an elite grappler or wrestler, but he is an accomplished wrestler. He knows how to use his body and distribute his weight and get his opponent to the ground. I feel as though this fight is I don't want to say tailor-made for Darren Till, because it's an opponent for Darren Till that is available now, that is a viable opponent. But at the same time, if I, in my head, measure up both of his skills, this is a fight that Darren Till should on paper win comfortably. And not only win comfortably, he should look good doing it. Do you know what I mean? So that's where the pressure is on for Darren Till, because the last time I can remember Darren Till being in a fight against an opponent that I felt that he should beat comfortably and look good doing it was when he fought a certain Jorge Masvidal. And I think that was in London, actually. That might have been in London, or it was in Liverpool, but it was in the UK. Do you know what I mean? So the only way in my head Darren Till loses this fight is if he goes in there with an overconfident attitude, an attitude where he downplays the dangers that Derek Brunson brings to the octagon and focuses too heavily on his own output and his own attacks. Because one thing that I've heard him talk about in interviews is how he felt he was a tiny bit gun shy against Whittaker in his last fight, you know, and it's easy to overcompensate that sort of a kind of assessment of your last performance, especially when you believe your opponent in the next fight doesn't have the same level of skill or is able to perform to the same caliber that you are. Do you know what I mean? So Derek Brunson does definitely bring a level of danger to someone like Darren Till, but I don't feel like if Darren Till fights at his optimum, he has enough to beat Darren Till. Having said that, Derek Brunson is definitely someone that is improving. He's improving fight on fight, and he's moved over to what are they called? Is it Stanford MMA? Henry Hooft and all of them lot. Used to be the Black Zillions, and then they split up and all of that. I don't know, but it's Henry Hooft. He's improved his striking because he's gone with an elite striking coach, and I feel like that has brought a new level of self-assuredness and confidence to him as well. And I feel like he's going into this fight knowing that he's the underdog, but also liking the fact that he's the underdog. And I feel like this is going to be a difficult night's work for Darren Till. But I do feel like Darren Till has enough to beat him, just because I feel like that, like Derek Brunson, when he fought Kevin Holland, he found it easy to take Kevin Holland down, because I feel like Kevin Holland is obviously, one, his takedown defense isn't great, and two, physically he's just not a strong middleweight. We saw Kevin Lee recently, go up to welterweight from lightweight, and he kind of looked undersized against his opponent on Saturday. Darren Till isn't a guy that suffers from that, because he's made the same step up 15 pounds. But he's actually one of those fighters where you can say, you know what, physically he looks the same size as his opponents, and then you think to yourself, how did he even make 170 pounds? And you see pictures of him weighing in at 170 pounds, and you think to yourself, oh mate, he doesn't look healthy. That doesn't look right. Now that you see what he looks like as a middleweight with 15 pounds extra weight on, and he doesn't look fat at middleweight. Do you know what I mean? It's not like Kelvin Gastelum, where he looks cut up at 170 pounds, but then at 185 pounds he looks a little bit podgy, and you think to yourself, can you be fighting at welterweight? Should you just not go down? Do you know what I mean? Darren Till is a prime example of someone that needed to move up, and he has moved up in weight. But like I said, this card, I feel like it's been built around Darren Till, because like I said, they wanted to put it on in the UK to start with. And the opponent, I wouldn't go as far as to say it's cherry picked, but it's definitely a winnable fight for Darren Till. And it puts him right in the mix if he does win this fight, because obviously we know Robert Whittaker and Israel, they should be fighting at some point, hopefully later this year, because the rules for lockdown and stuff like that are a lot more strict in Australia. I've got a friend that lives there, and I always see on his Instagram posts about lockdown and this, that and the other. They're still doing all that lockdown stuff over there. So, and I heard an interview with Israel Adesanya talking about how the laws are quite strict to come out of the country and come back in. Even if you're an athlete, you don't like get an elite athlete exemption like other athletes for other sports do. But I don't know why I'm going on about. Oh, this is why I'm going on about it. It's because there's a potential fight later on this year between them two, and I feel as though one more for Darren Till, and it will put him in that position to fight for the title. And it's really weird, because I was listening to something, I can't remember what I was listening to, or it might have been a tweet. Someone said somewhere that Darren Till's a guy that's had opportunities to fight for titles, and he's a guy that gets mentioned in conversations as future champion and things of that nature, when in fact he's only won 6 fights in the UFC. I'm looking at his Wikipedia page now, and I'm actually going to count his victories here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, he's only won 6 fights, and he's been in the organisation since 2015. So what does that tell me? It shows me that he's his personality is what we gravitate towards, and he had that moment earlier on in his career against Donald Cerrone when he decimated him in a round and kind of announced himself on the scene, and that was back in 2017. And to be fair to Darren Till, it's not like he's taken easy fights since then, because he went from Donald Cerrone, a declining Donald Cerrone, back in 2017, straight into a fight with Wonderboy Thompson, who had just fought Tyron Woodley for a title, straight into a title shot with Tyron Woodley. And then, obviously had the Jorge Masvidal, Kelvin Gastelum, his first fight at middleweight. And I distinctly remember making a video talking about, why is Darren Till fighting Kelvin Gastelum in his first fight at middleweight? What's the rush? He's young. It's his first fight in this weight class. Surely they should be giving him someone that isn't such a killer, someone that has just had a fight with Israel, a war with the champion Israel Adesanya. And then he's fought Robert Whittaker, who is, it's not even arguable at this point. He's definitely he's 100% the second best middleweight in that division, if not the best, and we'll find that out when he fights Israel Adesanya again. Do you get what I'm saying? So people are talking about Darren Till's record and look, he actually needs to put a run of wins together. But when you're literally fighting the best guys in the division, and you're still trying to learn your trade, as it were, because like I say, he's still quite young in the game. Like, cut him some slack, That's what we love the sport for. The best fighting the best, and a loss doesn't define you. And Darren Till right now is testament to it, because if he puts 2 wins together, in my opinion, he's in for a title shot, and it's difficult to argue against the UFC justifying that. But I'm definitely interested to see this fight. I definitely do think Darren Till wins it. I just feel like it's a trickier task than people are giving Derek Brunson credit for. And I hope Darren Till, and I'm showing my bias here because obviously I want Darren Till to win. I hope he's not one of those guys that are underestimating Derek Brunson. Now, the next thing that I'm second most excited about is Tom Aspinall, because he's a guy that I've been, watching grow in terms of his stature in the heavyweight division, but also grow in terms of his physical ability as a heavyweight. And he's definitely a mixed martial artist first and a heavyweight second. And what I mean by that is there are a number of heavyweights in the heavyweight division that have a primary skill set, and the rest of their mixed martial arts game is questionable. I'm thinking of, I don't know, Derek Lewis, even Francis Ngannou. Like, someone like Francis Ngannou, his primary skill set is so good that he doesn't need to compensate so much in the rest of his game, jiu-jitsu, grappling, etc., etc. He's just physically strong enough to stop you from taking him down. And if he gets close enough to hit you, he's hitting you into next week. And that's why he's our champion. But Cyril Gane, I would class as a mixed martial arts artist first and then a heavyweight. He's just a really good fighter that happens to be fucking big. And Tom Aspinall is another example of that. Because although I believe his primary skill set is actually wrestling and grappling, if I'm not mistaken, he's a very good striker. He's an accomplished striker. He's a good boxer. He moves well. He's light on his feet for someone so big. I like the way he comes across in interviews. I gravitate towards him. And again, it might just be because he's English and I want him to do well. But, I look forward to seeing little things of him on YouTube, little interviews and little clips that I've seen over the last couple of weeks. There's one actually that he did with BT Sport that I still haven't watched, but it's on my to-do list. His opponent, Sergey Spivak, is a guy that I don't actually know a great deal about, although I just kind of googled him and watched a couple of clips on YouTube, and I do remember seeing him fight against Alexander Linik. I remember him fighting against Tai Tuivasa because he messed up my ACCA on his fight with Tai Tuivasa, because I bet on Tai Tuivasa to beat him. It's me again. And he beat Tai Tuivasa in the second round. He choked him out, and Tai Tuivasa was kicking his leg out. There was a couple of times where Spivak hit the deck in that fight, but since then he's fought Marcin Tybura. He's lost to him. He's fought Carlos Felipe and Gerard Van der Rea, and I haven't watched those fights. They must have been on like undercards or fight nights and things of that nature. Just didn't interest me, to be honest. But one thing that I can say with the limited knowledge I have on him as an opponent for Tom Aspinall is he's well-rounded enough, and he's got a gas tank on him. If he stayed in there with Alexei Oleinik for 3 rounds and beat him via decision, because Oleinik is a guy that has, for his age, he has an amazing gas tank, and he doesn't know how to take a backward step. So, you know, again, he's a reasonably dangerous fighter, and who isn't at this stage? You know, you're fighting in the UFC, but he's a guy that Tom Aspinall should be dispatching of with relative ease if, like I said, his ability matches his aspirations of being a UFC champion somewhere down the line. The next fight that I want to talk about it's not really a fight. It's the debut of Paddy Pimblett. Now, he's a guy that's been on my radar, and I haven't, you know, I tried to a couple of minutes ago on my phone kind of work out when it is that I actually first came across Paddy Pimblett. And you know what? Let me just try and actually do this now. So if I go here, Paddy Pimblett, because I'm pretty sure it was an interview that he did with Ariel Helwani. And this was kind of when he's still on Cage Warriors, but he was a young Cage Warriors fighter. 3 years ago, it was before then. Anyway, I can't be asked to look. I did have a brief look to see when it is that I kind of first came across him, but it must have been 6-7 years ago when I first heard of the guy, because this was around the time when Conor McGregor was making his ascent up the ranks in the UFC, and Paddy Pimblett was kind of being touted as the next Conor McGregor because he was young. He had a big fan base that was loyal to him, the Scousers up in Liverpool, and he looked to be a promising talent. Obviously, he had a few bumps along the way fighting in Cage Warriors. I believe his record is something like 16-3. He hasn't got a Wikipedia page. That helps. Let's have a look over here. What is his record? 16-3, which is still a very good record for a martial artist and someone that he's only 26 years old, right? So he's been fighting at the highest level in the UK, the highest domestic level, the highest level in Europe, to be fair, since, you know, late teens, early 20s. So obviously he just wasn't experienced. He hasn't had the time to. When he was fighting at the top level in Cage Rage, he hadn't had the time for his skill set to develop into his body type, I feel, if that makes sense. And I feel like his fight IQ was lacking a little bit, because I'd seen him fight people, fight opponents, like people, like they're just random people. But I remember seeing a fight of his, and I can't remember what the opponent's name was, but I remember seeing a fight of his when I first kind of became aware of the hype. And I don't know whether it was this Cameron Else fight or whether it was back in 2017 and it was a loss that he took against Nad Narimani. And I feel like that might have been a title fight. But the page that I'm looking at doesn't give this information for some reason. But I suppose the point I'm trying to make is he has bided this time to make the step up to the UFC, because they've come knocking on a number of occasions, and he's here. He's accepted the invitation on this occasion. He's coming in as a lightweight. He believes his body has matured and he's filled into the weight class. I felt like, and this is from watching him years ago, that him fighting at lightweight, surely he's going to be too small to fight at lightweight. I'm just interested to see what level his skills are at, because we've had a couple of different domestic fighters come into the UFC, and it's been a bit of a rude awakening for him. And I honestly don't know where to place Paddy Pimblett, because he's a guy that is very confident in how he carries himself and what he says in interviews, and he's very confident that he is destined to be one of the best martial artists in the world, and he's going to be a lightweight champion. And bloody hell, that's a very, 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 very difficult. I mean, they're all difficult, but the lightweight division is extremely difficult to climb to the top of. So I just want to gauge, like, how good is he? Like, is he someone that I can see, you know, getting into that top 10 and eventually the top 5 of a stacked division, or is he just is he just going to be a personality more than a fighter to me, if that makes sense? He's a guy that does divide opinion. Like, I've seen people trying to cancel him on Twitter recently. I've seen people, you know, there's been a lot of, he gets backlash, but he also gets a lot of support on social media. Me personally, I haven't really bothered to look into what he said too much, or his opinions for that matter too much. The impression that I get is he's someone that sometimes does say wrong things, because he's not very, his judgment isn't very, what's the right way of saying this? His judgment of what might be construed as offensive or not isn't very good. So he might say things on social media that people might take offense to. I don't feel like it comes from a nasty, mean or horrible place. It's just a lack of understanding of other people's sensitivities and what he shouldn't really be putting out there in the public forum, because he's a public figure, effectively. But I don't feel like it necessarily makes him a bad person. I just feel like it's just something that he potentially just needs to grow into. Sometimes people are just too real, too raw on social media. And the thing that I do hate is when someone says something that is clearly offensive to a community, I don't know, an ethnicity, and I'm not saying he said anything to offend any ethnicity. This is just a totally separate example that I'm giving you guys. But when someone does say something that is that could be construed as offensive to someone of a different community from themselves, it's very easy for the person that's made the comment to say, oh, you're just a snowflake, without taking the time to understand, hold on a minute, why is that person offended? Like, what have I said that misrepresents them, or misrepresents their feelings, or misrepresents their beliefs? Do you know what I mean? I don't know why I'm going into this fucking thing, but I feel like that's a situation that Paddy Pimblett has found himself in recently, and I'm glad he's been open about saying, all right, I'm just going to take a step back from social media at the moment, because I feel like that's what he needs to do, because he does use social media quite well. Obviously, he's got a lot of traction, he's got a lot of fans, he's got a lot of people that want to see him fight, and I'd hate for that to go away by him making a mistake in a public forum like Twitter, like Instagram. Like, I know he's lost his Instagram account recently, but aside from all, and look, this is the reason why I'm excited to see him fight. Like, I've just spent 3, 4, 5 minutes talking about him outside the octagon, and I couldn't really tell you what his major strengths are inside the octagon. I can't. But I've known his hair and his face for literally the last 7, 8 years. You know, and I knew certain days he was fighting on Cage Rage, and I hadn't seen the fight, but I'd be interested to go on social media to see, did he win? And I had no idea who he was fighting. Do you know what I mean? So some people just have that gravitational pull, and he's one of them, and I want to see him do well in the UFC. I just have seen him fight previously, and I just haven't really seen what the hype's about, apart from the fact that he's got a lot of fans. But like I said earlier, I am very aware about the fact that he was a young fighter at that point, and everybody improves. Like, if I watched Dustin Poirier fight and lose to Michael Johnson whenever he did, I would never have at that point thought that this guy's going to be one of the best lightweights in the world. But he is. Do you know what I mean? He's improved. Why is my hair or my beard like this? It's all like, I need to get my comb out, don't I? My beard comb. But yeah, so those are the 3 fights that I'm looking forward to the most. But here's another thing that I just quickly want to touch on is Jack Shaw, because Jack Shaw is it's funny because he's actually on the undercard, and he's another guy that's come up from I feel like I've been saying Cage Rage when I was talking about Paddy Pimblett, when it's actually Cage Warriors. And if I have been saying Cage Rage, I'm really, really sorry, because all those times I said Cage Rage previously, I meant Cage Warriors, because Cage Rage is a completely different organisation. But Jack Shaw is a guy that was the Cage Warriors champion. And he's come into the UFC and he's won 3 on the spin. So he's actually a guy that has responded well to the step up in coming to the UFC. And he's flying under the radar a little bit, but he is the same age as Paddy Pimblett. He's 26. I know they're in different divisions, but I suppose the point I'm trying to make is he's come without the hype and the fanfare, and he's putting a run together. And it reminds me a little bit of like Arnold Allen, who's also putting on an impressive run. But he's a British, UK, based fighter that doesn't really get a lot of hype around him. Do you know what I mean? But that's a fight I'm definitely going to try and watch come Saturday, because I don't know what I'm going to be doing, because it's actually prime time. We're actually getting this card in prime time over here in the UK. So, if it was on at 1 o'clock in the morning, because I'm old, I'm in my 30s, I'm usually at home on a Saturday night after 1 o'clock in the morning, so I can tuck in and watch every single fight. But on this occasion, I might be out. I might be out having a social life. You never know, Someone might invite me to do something fun, and I might say yes. But I hope that doesn't happen, because I think I'd rather just be at home watching the fights. Because what would be really nice is having a weekend where Arsenal aren't playing and ruining everything. Everything that I've worked for, motherfuckers. You're taking everything that I've worked for. So I want to fight your fucking ass. And I'm talking to you, Stan Kroenke. Anyway, yeah, it's a British invasion this Saturday. It's like UK Rampage back in 1992. Who remembers that? UK Rampage, when the WWF came here, Royal Albert Hall, I think it was in. British Bulldog won a battle royal. Anyway, let's stop giving you guys old early 90s wrestling references. Pretty sure there's only one person that's watching this that will get that, and that's you, James. And I'm sorry I didn't mention Bret Hart, because I know how much you love him. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about the fights. Let me know what you guys think about my opinions about the fights and the fighters. Give me your predictions as well. Put your predictions in the comments below. And as always, don't be scared to like. Don't be scared to comment. Share this with a friend. Let's get the numbers up. I need more subs in here. I need more subscribers, man. I want to hit. That's it. I want to hit 1,000 before the end of the year, because the aim was 750, but we've beaten that. So let's really beat it. Let's get to 1,000, and I can start getting some of this YouTube money. They'll start paying me once I hit 1,000. I need your help for that. But anyway, I think that's it. I'll catch you guys later. Keep it classy.